Hello everyone, this week we will learn how to paint this evening light cityscape using watercolors. Welcome to my home studio where I share my passion for watercolor paintings. My name is Dinesh. Today we'll capture the evening light on a vibrant cityscape from Toronto. I'll show you how to blend warm colors and cool shadows to create a stunning urban scene in a soft glow of dusk. Before we dive in, be sure to hit the subscribe button to become a part of our ever-growing creative community. Now without further ado, let's get started everyone. This picture was taken outside Chinatown when I come out of the restaurant. This is the light I was encountered with. I instantly want to capture this. If you think about it, there's a nice bluish, warmish, coolish foreground, and there is a warmish midground, and there is kind of like a cool background with a lot of warm tones in it. And it's also a really beautiful thing to capture, especially evening glow in watercolors. As for the supply goes, I'm using Bowang Rough Surface 300 GSM, and you can use anything you want. It's also cold press. And for the paints, I use a Winsor Newton professional grade watercolors, and again, you can use any watercolor paints you want. Let's do the sketching. When it comes to sketching, try to keep it really light, because since watercolor it goes really light, and sometimes you can see the pencil marks, and you could see the pencil marks a little bit darker. I usually keep it really light because whenever people see my work, they're surprised that they can't see my pencil marks because I really keep it light. You can also use water soluble pencils. One day I'll be using it. And again, when it comes to simplifying my reference, I usually think of arranging my planes or arranging my composition. So what I mean by that is, it's easier to think everything in foreground, midground, and background. So the foreground is the road and the cars, and whereas the midground is the buildings on the light, which is kind of like near the street lights, and those are the midground. So the background are those three tall buildings, and there's also one building at the end, and the sky is the biggest shape, which is kind of acting as the other background element as well. So in this way, we can arrange our shapes in such a way that to create a really nice impactful story and really nice composition too. But once I sketched it, I was thinking, once I finished this painting, I was thinking maybe I should have changed my composition in a really good way, because I would have just did one building instead of doing all three buildings. So I'll do the first wash. So the first wash is the easy wash, is just the sky. And again, my reference kind of looks saturated, but if you go out, it kind of looks a little bit desaturated or looks pale. And for the sky, I'm using Cerulean Blue, and I'll mix a little bit of cobalt blue at the end, and there is the building which is at the end, and I'm just trying to capture that, and I'm just combining with it since there is blue in it. So the other thing I usually do is, whenever I paint, is try to mix warm and cools. So if I see a warm color, I'll try to have some kind of cool colors in it. So what that does is, it gives a really nice pleasing to eyes. And you can see that I blocked in the first building all the way at the bottom, and which is kind of like a warm color, and at the bottom I put a little bit of a ramber at the bottom, or cobalt blue at the bottom. And now I know that there's a lot of blue spill in the foreground, and I'm just going to use that, and that's what I just combined it, and I did that. And I'm also thinking about the local color, or the light of the building. So you have to think underneath and how to layer in watercolors, because that's the most essential part when it comes to any kind of painting. Even though we are painting an evening glow, you paint the light first, then you add the shadows and the darker values. So if you do that, you also simplify your subjects, and you also simplify painting. It also makes easier to paint as well. And there is also another thing I don't like doing in watercolors, is just like going around the shapes, because it just really, you have to plan your painting, and that's one thing you have to do in watercolors. Is like, you can see that I went around the objects, especially the signs, because the signs have different colors. So I want to capture it. It's not like opaque medium where you can just skip something and you can just do it. But in watercolors, we have to be really careful what you're painting around. Even for the street light, and you can see in the foreground, I left some white space. The reason being is it's going to have a light and there's the shadows which is at the bottom. So I want to capture that. So that's why I left some lights for it. And I'm using the warmish tone for the building in the foreground. And now I'm using adding the traffic lights. And so whenever I'm using a color, I'm seeing is there anywhere else I can add this color. If I see it, I'll just add it. If I don't see it, I don't add it at all. So for the road, it's kind of like a neutral tint. You can use a neutral tint with a little bit of blue in it, and that will give the road color of Toronto. And I'm also using clean brush to create those street signs and the walkway as well. And now I'm adding the light for the street pole and thing. And again, when I think about colors, I think about warm or cool. I don't think about what color is it. If it's a warm color, I'll just add a warm color. If it's a cool color, I'll just add a cool colors. So now the separations of colors. The signboards. There's a lot of signboards in Chinatown. And I'm also thinking, how can I simplify to a single shapes? That's what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to do anything else. I'm trying to see it like, is there any way I could able to simplify the signs? And you can see that I went again and put a little bit of more colors in it. So I'm going to start the details in the background. And you can see as soon as we add a couple of windows at the back of the building, you can see that the scale started happening. How big is this scene? And now I'm adding this building. Again, I'm simplifying my details as well. But when it comes to background, I try to keep it really minimal. I don't try to overdo it. I'll just keep it as simple as possible because it is necessary. When you paint, you have to have lesser details on certain areas and more details on certain areas. Again, when you added that building, you could see that I left some white bits because I want to add a street light there. So you can see that in the background, that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to add any more details. Now I'll focus on the car, which is in the foreground. And it's dried quite a bit. So I'm adding the windows of the car. And again, you can see that I ignored the car, which is all the way in the foreground. And I kept the car, which is kind of like, close to the midground. So I can add reflections, which is also lead us into the painting as well. When it comes to car, I don't have any tips. You just have to learn the shape, how to make it work and look like a car. So that's really important. And I'll just skip that. And I jumped on to the background building now. So now I will add the shadows. Officially, we finished our first wash. Now you can see that it looks like a building shape with a light on it. So once we start adding the shadows, things will start appearing. The light will start appearing. The evening glow of the light will appearing on the scene as soon as we add the shadows. And when you do painting like this, you have to analyze your lighting and shadow first. Where are the lighting and where are the shadows? And you can see that just by adding a couple of darker tones here and there on the buildings, and we are able to see everything is happening in our scene. And I also have a couple of figures in the midground as well as one person in the foreground next to the car, just to show the scale of the painting. And again, I'm trying to use a lot of wet on wet in the midground because I don't want to focus that much on the midground because I want to focus more on the details on the foreground. And you will see that I will add a lot of details in the foreground than the rest of the painting. And that's what I'm trying to do. And again, I can see that now I'm adding the details for the foreground building. Again, I don't copy as it is. I'll try to change as much as I can in my painting. If you can, you should do it as well. Because if you copy as it is, it kind of like gets boring and people think that you just, a copier. And I try to take my reference and try to capture the essence of it. The one way of capturing essence is capturing the lighting and shadows and capturing the colors and using warm and cools. And you can see that as soon as I add this really cool shadow in the background, you can see that it looks really nice. Because whenever you add cool color next to a warm color, it looks really amazing, because that's how nature works, and our eyes kind of like it's pleasing to eyes when you add like warms and cools. So now I'm adding the shadow for the midground buildings, but again, from background to the midground, I really keep it simple. Here you could also use a lot of wet on wet, because you can also create this really nice softer shadows at the bottom of the ground. There's other way to simplify our shadow pattern is thinking in if it's a harsh edge or if it is a softer edge. So whenever you try to capture the edge of harsh and soft, and that also gives a really nice variety of edges in our scene, and it also gives really nice contrast. And you can see that I felt like the building in there kind of lacked the saturation, so I went and glazed over it. So before, when I painted early in when I started painting, I'm like really scared of going and changing something. But nowadays, I'm not scared. I'll just go and do it, because if it works, it works. It doesn't, I'll do another painting. And it's also other way of learning as well. Again, if you want to get good at watercolors, I've seen a lot of video tutorials. Use this technique and your painting will change. And watch this 10-minute tutorial, everything will change. It's kind of like trying to get views and they're clickbaiting. If you want to get good at watercolors, you just have to paint and learn it, because every person paints differently and every person sees colors differently. Even when I have students, there are some which are really good at painting one subject than other subjects. So the only way to learn is just experiment and keep painting and enjoying the process of it. Because I love painting, I also love sharing my techniques, what I've learned from doing this journey, and that's what I do. And there's also other tutorials I see. They try to paint for algorithm, but I don't paint for algorithm. I paint for myself, and I like to share what I love, so that's what I enjoy. And again, you can see that I'm adding the streetcars, the streets lights, sorry, and at the bottom you can see that I add a little bit of white and reds. So whenever you try to sneak in colors in your painting, just do it, because in watercolors a lot of people doesn't add that much color. So it's kind of, whenever I see a lot of people work, it doesn't have that much color variations, because people love colors. When they see a lot of colors, if it's vibrant, it just attracts the viewers to see it. Even though watercolor goes dull, we can't get the really nice vibrancy, but still you could do it. Like if you glaze over on top of a wash, you'll get more details. And now I'm adding the tertiary details, and I'm trying to see. So, and whenever I paint, or whenever I'm thinking to paint streetlights or anything, I'm thinking of how can I get the realism in a few amount of strokes, and how can I get the reflection on the light. And you can see that I left some white bits, and that's the reason I also left that white space when I was painting the building at the background. So now I'm adding the shadow, and you will see that once we add the shadow, and the lighting will get a little bit darker as well. And I'm just glazing over it, and as you can see it, and now you can see that we kind of match the shadow close to the reference. And I also felt the shadow on the foreground building, which is casting in the foreground building, is a little bit darker. Maybe I would have lightened it by using clean water after that. And you can see that I painted it, and I took clean brush to get rid of some of the paint from the road, because in Toronto there are two roads. There's a tar road on the sides, and for the streetcars they have this warmish raw amber tone for it. So I was trying to capture that using a clean brush. And you can also see I also glazed over the value for the car, because once we made the road darker, the value doesn't match anymore on the cars itself. And I'm trying to put some street lines on the road, because what that does is it kind of gives this lead in to take us into the painting. And this other thing I want to do is like try to reflect the building, the foreground building on the road, because that gives really nice bounce light at the bottom as well. Just by doing that, you could see that we kind of create this really nice effect on the road. So now I'm going to tighten up some of the areas in the foreground. Again, in the beginning of the painting, I said I spend more time on the foreground than the rest of the painting. And nowadays I'm also using this watercolor pen for darker values. So it's the other way of bringing in some of the values back, but I keep it really minimal.
And I forget to add the shadow for the street light in the foreground. And you can see that once I add the shadow, and you will get more light on the street light itself. And you can see that it kind of really nice. I'm thinking about the shadow or light. And you have to, as I said in the beginning of the tutorial, think in everything in lights and darks. And that also helps to simplify as well. So now I'm adding the street wires. And again, I also keep this to minimal, and this also enhances perspective too. So I put lines which is exactly going in the background, so the lines at the bottom and the lines at the top, which takes us into the painting. So that's the reason behind it. So at the end, this is the step I usually wait till then, using white paint, and just to bring back some of the highlights back. Again, when I'm doing a 9x12 painting, it's really hard to leave white bits here and there, and I use Chinese white for it, and you can also use gouache as well. It also gives like really nice highlight as well. And again, I'm trying to add the details wherever I want. When it comes to the signs on the signboards, you could match close to the reference, but you don't have to be exactly the same. So you can invent your own language too, and sometimes I do it. And I'm just adding the headlights for the car, and this is why I left some white spaces in the foreground just to get that highlight back. And you can see that as soon as we add it, it also have this really nice cool effect. It also gives a really nice contrast against light and dark. And you can see that I'm trying to get some of the highlights back, and I'm trying to enhance the lighting a little bit far. And the reflections on the road, it didn't go through it, so I'm just like using white paint and color of the road, and I'm using tissue paper to get rid of it. And I'm also trying to get this red light on the car itself, and you can see that I'm also trying to darken the value on the road as well. And this is how the painting looks like. It looks really nice with the warm and cools with light and shadows. That's your turn. Take my reference or use your own reference with thinking in terms of light and shadows on the evening glow, and use the techniques I showed and try to apply in one of your painting, and let's see what you can come up with.
Thank you once again for watching this painting tutorial. Please feel free to share your thoughts on the video in the comment section below. If you have any other watercolor related topics you would like me to cover, reach out to me at watercolorimpressions@gmail.com or leave a comment down below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and be sure to hit the subscribe button to become a part of our learning community. By subscribing, you will receive weekly upload notifications and stay updated on our channel, and share with your fellow artists, friends and family. And good luck with your painting, folks.